Well, folks, the gig is up. Dead by Daylight just exposed us all. So Dead by Daylight just released a list of the most purchased skins in the game, and of course, the Bikini Sable skin had to be on top. And don't sit here and tell me you bought that skin because it helps you play more optimally. The Dead by Daylight community thinks Sable is a baddie, and now Behavior just put all of our business out there. So I guess there's not much else to do but just lay low for a little while. But I guess there is one thing I should tell you. The thing is, I don't own the Bikini Sable skin. So why don't you take a seat right over there, you sick fucks? How old did this Sable girl tell you she was?
So it's a girl.
It's a girl.
I don't know how old. That's why I'm here. I'm just curious.
Dead by Daylight just released a whole lot of stats, but obviously we're only going to talk about the fun ones. Michael Myers just got buffed and he actually feels powerful now. And finally, Behavior is actually catching their mistakes before they put them into the game. We're going to talk about all that and more, but now it's time to stay in the loop. If you need the DVD scoop, it's time for you to stay in the loop. Welcome back to In the Loop, your #1 source for Dead by Daylight news. And the stats that Japan just dropped revealed that the community only likes skins that are either revealing or pay to win. Like obviously we have the Sable skin, which I already called out. On the killer side, like the Deer Huntress skin is the most popular. That's the one with the quiet lullaby. Glitch Trap is #2, which was pay to win for a while. He was like super quiet, but recently they made him a little bit louder. And then 4th is Rize, who I guess she isn't pay to win, but she's paid not to lose because Kaneki's so loud and annoying. So we don't play Wraith as much as the Japanese players do. That's crazy to me that Wraith is their top killer. Like I kind of hate playing as Wraith. He's like super boring to me, but I will say like when I was learning killer, that was the killer I played the most because he's very good on like the fundamentals. So yeah, that might be why he's popular, but it was very interesting to see that. When you look at all of Japan's stats, like the killer mains are pulled to like the classic original killers. Like Wraith, Nurse, Doctor, and Trapper all have way higher pick rates in Japan than they do the rest of the world. When you look at the top pick rates for the rest of the world, it's very like sensationalized. Like we love our licenses. Springtrap has a really high pick rate. Wesker has a really high pick rate. Super interesting to see those discrepancies. And one thing I got from this is that Japanese survivors are absolutely cracked. So in Japan, the survival rate is about 5 to 7% higher across the board. Like they must just have it down. Probably more organized or they don't quit on games. But it really puts it in perspective. Like these Japanese killer mains have got it rough. Like, do you think you have it bad? Like, just think about the Japanese killers. So yeah, super cool to see these stats. I wish Dead by Daylight would drop more of these. It really puts things in perspective, like the perspective I get when I read my YouTube comments. Which brings us to our next segment, the Voice of the Fog. Every week we select one comment from last week's episode to make this week's Voice of the Fog. This week's winner was Dale the Funky, who called out the fact that I didn't have a single tie on. Well, Dale, that was season 2. We've moved on from that and we've upgraded to Blazers. To be next week's Voice of the Fog, make sure to comment on this video. You could talk about Myers, who just recently got buffed, and I'm gonna be honest, y'all, he is like 100 times better. So today, which is October 21st, they just buffed him again. The main changes came to his Evil Incarnate mode. His Evil Incarnate went from 40 seconds to 60 seconds, which is a change I actually recommended like 3 episodes ago. His dash attack, the Slaughtering Strike, feels way less clunky. Like before, you couldn't really use it at loops because it was so restrictive. You could only kind of use it at straightaways. Now it feels like almost like a better version of Pig's Ambush because it can insta-down. It's super strong at loops. I'll post some clips, but I was able to get a ton of cool clips with it. And all in one game, I only recorded one of the games that I played. Like he finally feels oppressive and strong. Not like A tier, but maybe B tier. And one of the biggest changes that makes him feel so oppressive is his cooldown after he breaks a pallet with his Slaughtering Strike. So essentially his cooldown's so quick, he can break a pallet, go right back into the Slaughtering Strike and down people. A lot of people are on Twitter now kind of complaining about this, saying there's no counterplay. I don't know, he just came out, so we'll see what counterplay there is, but it's just nice to feel like once you get your stock meter filled up, like you're gonna be dominating for a little bit, because it just didn't feel worth like stalking for what you would get in Evil Incarnate. I really like the changes. Hopefully survivors can figure out a counterplay, but there's always going to be survivors out here looping killers, kind of like our hooked highlight. Every week we pick a clip from our Discord as our hooked highlight. This week's clip comes from Feely, who was getting chased by a blight and he was absolutely juicing. One thing I love about this clip is how calm Feely stays throughout the chase. Like you never see panic at tiles. He's greeting resources until he needs to use them. He's baiting out swings from the killer. Overall, this is just a super impressive chase chase, and I know the killer got frustrated from this one. For your chance to be next week's Hooked Highlight, make sure to join the Discord and drop your clip. And while you're going through your computer searching for your clips, let me tell you about bug fix 9.2.3. Now look, this is not the video where I'm gonna read line by line every change they made. They made like 70 changes. I picked out 5 things. I'm going to talk about those 5 things, and we're going to move on to the next segment. If you want all the patch notes, I'll leave a link in the description. I don't have time to talk about this. I'm trying to keep this video under 10 minutes. All right, let's fire these off. Number 1, they fixed a bug that was turning people invisible when they went into the Void Realm. So this is obviously an event-specific bug, but probably a really annoying one if you run into it. And I'm also glad they fixed it where the nurse could blink straight out of the map. I think I saw a clip on Twitter about this, but I don't play a lot of nurse, so I didn't experience this. But nurse in general can be really annoying if you're like clipping out of the map. I've seen people clip through exit gates and stuff like that. They also fixed an exploit you could do with Trapper. Apparently there was a bug with stacking haste that made him incredibly fast, but Trapper is such a bad killer. I don't think he would be 4K'ing people even with that bug, but I guess it's good they fixed him. Poor Trapper. A Bardic Inspiration was giving people wall hacks. Essentially the aura reading from that perk was not expiring. That could be potentially game breaking, so I'm glad they were able to fix that. And finally there was an issue with Crossu when she was vaulting over pallets. It was pulling the pallet up and down, up and down. They fixed that. So those were the 5 I picked. I don't know. Those just seemed kind of interesting. But again, full patch notes in the description. I don't have time to talk about them all. But what I do have time to talk about is our fog forecast. Hey guys, it's Straz here with the fog forecast. High likelihood of salt this week. Experts have it at a 90 to 95% likelihood of salt, because it's always hard when people are trying to play competitive during an event where some people are just trying to get blood points. So be careful for salt, but also be careful because some people are seeing the blighted Springtrap skin in the event screen. You still can't get him till the 31st, but it's definitely making some people confused. And if you fired up the game expecting the legendary Maggie skin that was supposed to drop October 21st, that's been pushed back to October 28th. There's some issues with the skin that they want to iron out first. That's all we have for the fog forecast. Now back to Straz. So recently, it seems like Dead by Daylight is trying to be a little more transparent. And that's definitely apparent with them talking about the legendary Maggie skin and them pushing it back and kind of telling us why. It seems like Dead by Daylight is like overly communicating now. Definitely because a lot of the feedback that they got from the community. And for all the people that are like, why don't they ever test their product before they put it into the game? Well, they're doing it now, it would appear. You know, I think it's good that they're holding off this legendary Maggie skin until they work out whatever bug, because I mean, it's a legendary skin, so it's going to cost people a good amount of money. So I'm glad they're fixing it first, but some people are still finding ways to complain. And like at this point, it just feels like people are complaining to complain, because we asked Dead by Daylight to be more transparent, and they are. We're asking Dead by Daylight to try out the game before putting stuff into it, and they are. So it's like, what are we just picking fights to pick fights now? You could tell Dead by Daylight's going out of their way to reply to more posts. I see them tweeting more and kind of giving updates more. Like they're very conscious that they're on thin ice right now. And it just feels like some people are just trying to pick fights with them. And I don't know, guys, at what point do we just hang it up and just say like, good job, behavior. Thank you for these updates. I don't know if anyone will be happy, but you know who's not going to be happy? The killer that gets nerfed from our wheel of nerfs. So in our final segment, we're going to spin the wheel to see what killer is going to be nerfed next. Last week, the Houndmaster was picked and then quickly kill switched, and it looks like this week, Vecna is gonna be nerfed next. I mean, Vecna has 4 abilities. That's 4 too many in my mind. No more Fly, no more Mage Hand, Light of the Damned, or like damned to have any abilities. We're completely gutting Vecna. Vecna will be nerfed by next week. That's all for this week's episode, and always remember to stay in the loop.